Now if you see, we can go and start within default one. I can select OK. Let it start. We can test enter key. Probably after starting that is just select Oracle here, enter. So see it's working. This middleware to developer, this is working. Next we have three domains. And in these three domains we have the required folders where we can go and start WebLogic server, which we can do from JDeveloper also, which will be there. Let it start. Right, so if you see here we have understood how actually we can go and create the server. And service is an important component in SOA because that is what we use in order to do choreography, because services or web services are basically capable. It's not necessary that you have to always go with web service. You can go with other ways of implementation also if you can compromise with certain features. Right? So web service definitely provides you an edge, but there are some places when you cannot just go with web service. You have to go with core EJB or JMS kind of thing. Right. So our ID is started. We'll just go there. We have already discussed. This is what we have done. Object we created, and then we created a component, and from component we generated the web service. Let's close it. Saying some warnings here. So you see, I'll go here to the project. Right. And I will deploy this project. Right click, and if you see, I will go and deploy it in form of web service. I am doing this redeploy, but almost every time what you can do is you can rebuild the project, because sometimes your ID may not actually work. It claims of these technologies. I'll just go and right click, deploy. Deploy the web service. Right. You can select, if you see integrated, this is there, and we have SOA domain on, which we have configured last time. You remember, right? And just go and click on next. Loading server instances. Let it load. If it is running, it will load, otherwise it will. Right. It cannot establish connection. No issues. I'll just go here. Click on connect. Right. So if you see target platform is just it is trying to connect, it is not able to connect. So what we need to do? We need to go to our WebLogic. Right. We have already launched that project. Here we are in base 3 bin, and right click. Just select run as administrator, because sometimes it will create it. It is starting now. It's the same thing that we are doing. Only thing is because that problem came, we are restarting as far as we can. Just go here. Just change the view. This is application view and this is application server view so that we can manage from here itself. Let the server get started first. Once it will come to start state, we can manage the server from there. Right. So once it starts, you'll find it and if you see your web service is very much there. Okay. Fine. So this is what is done now. Now we'll go back to our application. I will have project here, right? And this we will have our calculator service. This is what is our calculator service, which we created. These two are interfaces. I'll select this calculator.java, right click, and then I'll go to test web service. Okay. Now, if you see here, it will ask you URL, right? So you can open WSDL. For that also you need URL, right? You can go and browse if you have generated WSDL. As of now, we have not generated WSDL, right? So let's go and cancel this from here. And as usual, we'll go and we'll try with the browser and then we will go ahead and test. Okay? This is how you will be testing. So in order to do that, if you remember, we have already launched it once. So I'll write here HTTP localhost and we'll go with this HT. I'll delete this HTTP localhost calculator service process just paste it here. And as we know, it is not at 7101, it is here. Right, I'll copy this WSDL from here. And now I'll come to my text. Here I have HTTP analyzer, right? And this I'll click on this. We have already clicked. Here we have to go and specify URL. It's fetching. If you see all, it is able to get. Now you see here you got the port and everything. Okay. No credentials, nothing. I'll just go and write here 100 and 200. And I'll send this. Right. So it's using what? HTTP analyzer to actually go and test the website. You can see the same header also where if you have user token and all, you can enter here and you can see the right response. In that case, creating a web service and testing it. Clear, right? You are right. Fine. So can I say that we are aware about creating a web service and testing a web service using JDeveloper? Okay. Right. Now what we will do, we'll try out this some web service using actually WSDL. So I'll just go and do Google to get some web service whose WSDL we can get. I'll write here web info web service. Right. Let's see. Yeah. We'll get it here. And this is .NET service. And just click here. And if you see there are so many WSDL, right? You see this is also WSDL. I'll take this WSDL, right? Now if you see this WSDL here, it provides you following operations: get cities by country and get weather. So we are trying out with the web service WSDL about which we are not at all aware. Okay? It's clear? Shall we try? Yeah. So we'll just go and we'll remember this. So we'll copy it in Notepad so that the WSDL is there with us. I'll just go and paste it here. This is what is our WSDL now. Now what I'll do is I'll just go to my JDeveloper. Let's create a new project. Okay, to keep things simple. Right, so I'll go here and I'll go to project, right click, we'll get here new. Right. Now if you see general tab is there, you'll go to project, right? And in this if you see you have a tab called as generic. Okay? We'll go with generic one, click on OK. Right. Now, after we do that, we'll just name this. Let me name it as top down. Okay? Because this is top down approach. After doing this, you see first one is selected, that is ADF business component, right? And if you see ADF business component is the business that is provided the Oracle application, right? So nothing to do with web services as such, but just go and click on finish with whatever option is selected. Okay? Right? Now you have created a project, sound asset, right click, new. Okay? And click on select new. And here, if you see, you will have business type. And in business type, you have web app. Right. Now, if you see, you have Java Web Services from WSD. You select that, click on OK. And from here onwards, your wizard will start. Right? Just select, just go and click here. Select the deployment platform. Let's go with Java EE 1.5 only. Click on next. And here, I will just go and paste the URL of the WSDL file, probably, which your service provider has given. Right? Now service type that you want is what you have to select, right? Now if you see I'm trying up with dynamic HTTP address, right? We can copy it and we can store it locally also, and that's what is there. We copy WSDL locally. Okay? Right. So we are there here. Can we go to next? And let's see. It is building model for service and all, whatever is there. Package name that you want. Hey, you can give your own package name, like provide the default mapping from WSDL namespace to Java packages. You can also control how parameters are handled, and write this dot weather info line. Right? The root package for this from dot weather info data. Right? Some whatever name you prefer. Click on next. Now you can give it a logical name also. There is no issue, right? You can go and select next, no policy. Again, you see port, global weather, default handler or define handler. We are not going to define. Now you see what methods you are getting. Get weather and get city by country. Get cities by country. It returns you string. Right, and get weather returns you. So we'll see. I'll just go and click on finish. It is generating the required stuff. We'll see the reason. IO exception. The system cannot find the path specified. Right. Now it has got imported here. I'll just go and create a web service. We are creating a web service from WSDL, which we have got from there. Let's go in here. Next. File. It depends. Like you have to definitely do study of that and just clicking on next without selecting anything. Because sometimes what happens, your path can be too deep and that may also generate error. And if you see, that's what happened. I think in why error came in last step was clear, right? Because that depth, we already added com dot something, right? So that depth of the path was the bit, you say more. So the next time when I specify default is adopted. Now you see here, you have global weather somewhere. You have WSDL inside this, and you have get weather. I'll open the get weather class. Now this class is generated in Java, where it might have been written in some other language. Right, get cities by country. Now this also contains here. Yes, what you need to do is, you need to go and definitely write logic. Right. So go here. This is what is SOA implementation. You see, we can quickly generate. Like there is no problem in generating. Right. So now you got all the required interfaces using which you can go and implement it. This is what is the implementation part. Right. So you can use WSDL from your client and you can go and you can write the client on your own. Okay. Is that clear? It's clear, right? Can we write one small code to have? Yeah. Yeah, ask me. Yeah, because yes, it can be WS security, WS transaction, WS reliability. Right? You have so many policies which actually are applicable on your web services. So if you see here, I can go and I can analyze. No preferences because we have not selected it. So WS policies are there which are there in order to ensure that whenever terms like transaction management comes into picture, whenever term like security comes into picture. You'll find different providers have different, ways of transaction management, different standards of transaction management which they are adopting. So our objective is to ensure that they are interoperable, because Microsoft may not understand what JEE transaction management is. Microsoft will not understand what is required, right? So WS Profile provides that standard where transaction propagation from one provider to other provider can be done using that common standard. That's what is objective of WS policy or WS Profile. You can go and click here, test, and again you can do the testing using whatever. Right? So I feel that it's clear, top down and bottom up, how we got these classes. Now you can go and analyze these classes. Okay? You have to open each one of them and then you have to go and do your code analysis. Right? Because it will generate stub. It will not generate your implementation. Okay? Right? It will not contain the logic. Is that right? These are the photos and this. But yes, you can use these classes in order to go and write clients. Like we can write a public static void main client also to access this web service. Okay. You see object factory is there. Which provides you all JAX-JEE classes. So this moves into Java coding basically. In short, you have to go and provide the logic, because that logic will not be written. It will just provide you the skeleton. You have to go and you have to write the logic. Okay? It's clear? Yeah, you can test your web service by copying pasting URL again here. Which we can do. And go here. Control A, Control V. Okay. Now here it provides us the info that we can write. For example, country name will write. Okay. This is what is only input required, right? I'll write here US. And I'll send request. Let's see what is the output. Now if you see system.web service, there is no enough space on the disk to store the information. Okay. So I'll just go to that web service here and I'll go and get cities by country. That's what we have right. And once we enter USA here, click invoke, it shows the same error. So are you convinced that yes, it is working fine? Because we have tested it from here, right? So it's generating number of countries which are more. So probably this is not working. Their code is not working today. It's the same error we are getting when we are testing it. So we can report it to the client that we are not able to get it. Is that clear? It's clear, right? Because that service is written by them. Right? So this is how actually you will be consuming or you will be writing consumer parts for another web service for which they have given you the WSDL. Okay. So more of study on WSDL is what you need to do so that you can understand the service. You can open this WSDL file, and opening this WSDL file you can go and you can make out that what all are the services, right? Where actually is the endpoint of these services and what is meaning of this get by get cities and how actually it is binded, right? And the database we don't have our end. So it is creating service. Is that clear? We don't have right over the web service because we have taken it from the web. It's clear. Okay, so this is how actually we will work with that. We'll have a break of 10 minutes and after 10 minutes we'll start again. Is that fine?
Okay, fine.
Fine. So if you see here, we have designed an object. We created an object first, then we created a component which was in form of project. We organized all the resources which are required for project, and finally we converted into a web service. Right. Now next is service classification. If you see here, you can classify services that will be used in SOA in following types. First is connectivity service. Now, what is connectivity services? Connectivity services are those services which help you to create connection between diversified services. For example, if you see here, these are different services, and you have here legacy system package service, then you have database and various other partner applications which can be ERPs, and you have content management which can even be present in today's big data, that is Hadoop, right? So that is what is connectivity service. You will have system access, messaging, data access, partner integration using various connector APIs. Then you have data service. If you see data service here, you can connect to data by using JDBC, adapters, custom APIs, and you will have here a service layer where you can represent logical data model or data aggregate or data sync. Right? Data synchronization means whatever is there in your shared service, it is in sync with the assets like database. Then you have business service, very important. Here, once you have a number of services ready, you will try to use those services from customer or business logic perspective. Right? It can be complex or it can be simple operation. It can be atomic business service, like for example, you say login, right? Or you say purchase order, right? Now the purchase order may include n number of services, and there comes roll out business process service, where you will have short and long running processes, right? You will have n number of web services. Apart from that, messaging services integrated together in order to complete the workflow. Broadly, if you see, we have classified this business process services into two categories. One is system-centric workflow and second one is human-centric workflow. Human-centric workflows are represented using human tasks. For example, if you go with loan verification process, there are certain services which cannot be system-centric. For example, address verification. Now, address verification needs to be done by human, right? After doing that address verification, he will go and he will enter data about availability of that particular person at that address. And then your human task will get completed, right? So there are certain tasks which cannot be actually present or which cannot be represented by system, right? You cannot take that risk of checking the address of a particular, you say loan applier, right? Then you have presentation service, how actually you are going to present user interfaces report to the end user, right? That you do by using Portlet, or you can have multi-channel delivery, like you can use multi-devices, you can say PDA, mobiles, and various other kiosks which you will get in different domains. Right? At end, you will have complete service infrastructure where you have all these services integrated together, and communication among all these services are done by using this service bus, which can be an ESB as well, which stands for Enterprise Service Bus. Then you have here infrastructure services. In order to monitor all this, you will have service registry, repository, security, and event management. Okay, is that clear? So basic takeaway from here is what all different type of services are there which can be there in my SOA based architecture. They are presentation, business, process, business services, data services, and connectivity services. Is that clear? Now all these services put together will be used in order to create a composite application. Okay? Is that clear? Yeah. Am I audible? Okay, good. Now, next comes how actually these services will take advantage of each other. There are two different ways in which services can communicate with each other. You might have definitely worked out on it. One is synchronous, second is asynchronous, right? So this actually is categorized in various patterns. So if you see, there are different patterns which are there, synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is two-way communication. You can say that once I request a particular service, I have to wait till response has not arrived, right? Asynchronous, when it comes, it is, I will just send the request and I'll keep on doing my task. Once response is ready at other end, I'll have a listener at my end which will go and which will invoke the service, right? Which will complete the service. Okay, right? It can be one day or it
may or may not be responsive. May or may not be.
yeah, absolutely right. It may or may not be response centered because there are some services where response is not required. For that, what you can do is you can talk about four different communication patterns. One is one way, right? Request only. Second is request response. So when we go with HTTP, it is request reply. When you go with SMTP, it is request only. You send the mail. You will not be hanged till mail reply doesn't come. Then you will have solicit response, right? Solicit response, you can take up a case where whenever you register to a website, it will say in order to complete the registration process, go to your mail and click on the hyperlink, right? That is what is called as solicit response. And fourth one is notify. Notify is nothing but request reply where notify comes or notification comes probably after a particular delay, right? For example, you want to activate a service to your mobile service provider. So you will just SMS it on our number, and once activation is done, you will get the response, right? So there are four patterns of communication, and these four patterns of communication can be implemented using either synchronous or using asynchronous approach. Okay, so if you see synchronous, client sends the request and wait for the response, right? If you see, these invocations are basically less scalable and more vulnerable, right? Because you cannot just complete the use case till response is not received. And here your system is tightly coupled with other systems, right? If health of other system is not good, you may not get the response on time, which may affect functionality of your system also. So in order to resolve this issue, you will go and you'll find out, is there any way where I can make this communication asynchronous without compromising with the functionality? And that is what will be your design task. So you'll have client, he sends a request, he'll have a polling mechanism at his end so that as soon as response comes back, he can do the task in order to complete that particular use case. Okay. It's clear, right? Fine. So if you see, choosing the service implementation style, BBB I told you, right? Buy, borrow, right? It's clear. So you see here, supplied from existing functionality, build, buy, borrow. These are three mechanisms which you have to see. Now, fundamentals for creating services, functionality and data, message exchange, right? You can do that by using WSDL and XSD, which we have already seen. Fine. Then you can go and describe a web service using WSDL. What is a web service? It's a software system that describes the business functionality, and it is designed to support interoperability between machines where different stack of software are installed. Right? In order to get this interoperability, you have to go and adopt web service standards where SOA is there, which is meant for transport protocol. WSDL is there, which is meant for describing your web service so that consumer as well as service provider can interpret common meaning. Then you will have UDDI, which is for registry. So these are web service standards which are adopted widely in industry. And as we have already seen, this is what is the complete architecture, where you can see the service provider who takes responsibility of implementing the service. You see the web service directory where actually registry is maintained, and you see web service client who is responsible to find the web service, and invoke the web service. Is this diagram clear? Because it specifically talks about how actually you will interact with the role. Is that clear? Oh, fine. It's clear, right? Fine. So, if this is clear, WSDL model you already are aware of, you told, right? Because when we talk about WSDL, you will have a particular format which it will follow. Root element of WSDL document is definition. Then it will have type, which is nothing but your access type, XSDs or schema, message, input and output message depending on the transport pattern which we discussed, one way, two way, right? Notify, solicit response. And then you have your binding which contains technical details, and here you have service where you have specified the endpoint of the service, right? So this is how actually binding is the technical detail about that service. For example, you may have no, it is technical detail of that particular service. You try to understand it in this way. See, same web service, I can have different communication models. For example, it can be SOAP over HTTP, it can be SOAP over SMTP, it can be SOAP over JMS, right? So carrier protocols are different, but web service is common. So that is what you will describe in your binder. Apart from this, whether your SOAP message is document type or it is RPC, whether you are using literal or you are using encoded, which version of SOAP you are using, 1.1 or 1.2. So these are the technical details which you will find in SOAP binder. It can be different for different operators. Okay? Right. So this is
the operation.
Operation is a message. Like we have written add and subtract, right? So they are actually operations. Right? Yeah, message. Okay? Fine. So what I'll do before I move and talk about creating composite applications, what we need to do is we need to see how actually we'll be using JDeveloper in order to do that. Okay? So that we can talk about that, and you will be able to understand that what actually is meaning of composite applications. So I'll just go here to my JDeveloper where we have already created two web services. Let them be there. I'll go here. We have created two projects as of now, but these projects were web service projects. Now we are going to create a composite application, and this is what is your first step towards SOA or SOA application. Right? Right click, new, and if you see here, you get the gallery where you'll have different categories. I'm sure that you might be clear with what item you have to select from here. Okay, let me cancel it here because I've selected this. Right click, yeah, absolutely right. New, and if you see here, I'll go and I will select application, and from application, can you tell me which one I should select? We are going to build a right. I'll just select this, click on OK. Give it a name, whatever name you want. I'll give here SOA app 1, and I'll go here, click on next. Right? Fine. So this is what you have to do.
Already selected. SOA.
Yeah, we have already selected SOA. Right. So I'll give a name to the project. Let's give a name, some genuine name, like I'll give here file processor. These are just to elaborate you the interface which we are using in order to build these applications. Right? We'll just go if you see, in generated component, you are getting what? Composite.xml. Are you able to see? Right. So this will be the composite.xml, and this is what is the file which will be completed, right? Right. So I'll just go and click on next. And now if you see here, you are getting different options. Okay? Right. So if you see here, what we can do is, we can select the simplest one as of now. Simplest one is composite with mediator. Okay? Mediator is to mediate among protocols and the data. So I'll just go here. I've selected this and I'll click on. Right. So I have clicked on finish. It is asking us mediator. I will write here some name I'll give, like I'm giving here file, or let me say, give it a genuine name, transform file, right? And we keep this template define later. Or otherwise, you see, I told you, right, one way interface, right? Synchronous, asynchronous, interface definition from WSDL, subscribe the event, right? So let us keep the interface as it is. It means as of now, I am not deciding whether my service will be asynchronous or synchronous. I am not deciding whether it will be one way or two way, right? Okay. Right. So I'll just go and click on OK. Fine. So if you see here, it creates a mediator, right? And best part is it creates a file with .mplan, right? I just double click on it. And if you see here, we are getting mplan, right? Right, so this mplan is there. As of now, there is no structure. I just go and open this composite. Are you able to see here? Transform file?
Yes.
And are you able to see here service component? We have service components, right? FTP, JMS, MQ, Oracle, socket, third party, UMS, web services, all this, and people rule for writing the rule engine and all. Okay? Fine. So, if you see, these are the contexts which we can use actually. You have SOA, and we can go and try here. I'll take here file adapter. Okay? And I'll add it here. It starts what? File adapter configuration wizard. Okay? Now, I'll just go and click on next. Right? Given name, let me give it a name as file folder. Some logical name we are giving. Right? I'll go with next. Now, if you say define the operation and schema specified later, or you can go and import also, right? So, yeah, right. So, what I'll do is I will select the default one, click on next. Are you able to see what all operations are there which can be done using file adapter? Read file, write file, list file, synchronous read file. Okay? So, depending on the adapter, you will have the functionality or operations predefined, right? So, you need to be aware here that file adapter supports 4 operations, and these are the 4 operations, right? Read file will do what? It will poll for incoming file in your local file system. Write operation will create an outgoing file. Synchronous read operation will read the current content of the file. And list operation will list file names in a specified location. Okay? List file means you will give a location and it will give you the list of the files. For example, you are specifying a directory just to the yes. Okay? I'll just go and write read file. Right? So if you see here, you have selected this and we are going to call for files on the file system. Okay? So I have selected the read and let's go and click on next. It is asking, right? Which is the file which we have to pass. So what we will do is just go and write C colon and let me write here incoming. Right? And we'll go here, C drive, CMD I'll write. Right? And I'll make here MD. Yeah, no, I'm creating a directory as of now. Okay? MD, right? So directory is created and we have specified here, right? Right. So you can specify here whatever directory exists actually. I'll just go and minimize it, not close it. Is that clear? Next is you can specify the format also. I'll just go here with it. Include file with the name pattern is there, right? Then you have exclude file with the name pattern, right? Name pattern are specified with file with that. I think conference will get terminated in 5 minutes. Okay, so include file with name pattern. If you see file wizard is there, which is specified. So I can go here and I can specify XML. I want XML to be read. Now let me go here and write star.xml. Okay? Yeah. Or you can specify here a particular name also. Like you want to read only those files that starts with C or Q. So you can specify here. Or if you want to exclude certain XML files which can be specified within pattern, you can specify that as well. So I'll just go and click on next. You can go and specify the polling frequency. So we'll take it default. Right? And you can specify age as well. And so as of now what we'll do, we'll just keep the default one here, right? And I'll go and click on, yeah. So here age is, you are not selecting any age. Yeah, we are not. Yeah, 0 means what? Infinite, right? It will be always there. Okay. I'll just go and click on next. Select native file if you want native file transformation, but I'll just check that. Right? Now, what is meaning of this? Yeah. What is the purpose native format? See, native format transformation is not required because you say that here we are typically will select an XML schema that will apply to an incoming file so that XML content can be validated or it can be transformed on later use. Okay? Okay, very documented. Yeah, so we have made it open. Schema is open, right? If you will select this, then probably you can go and validate also your file by specifying the URL and the schema element. Okay, like you will have a schema for which you will have a root element. You will select the root element, for example, employee, and it will validate your incoming XML with that particular schema. Okay. I'll just go and click on next. Okay, and come back. Yeah, this is physical part. And when you come to logical name, this is logical name that you specify. Physical part is the physical one. Logical name, when we say we do mapping, like in case of Unix and all, we can go and we can do mapping of our file system. Hello? So that is what is mean. Logical name. Right. So we have done till here. Click on next. Click on select.
The logical name, okay, there is a question. So the logical name should be the name which has been created or explicitly called, or otherwise it is statically created the logical name or the existing in the kind of.
Yeah. Already created and existing.
Okay.
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 So if you see here, we have here exposed service, you have external reference, and you have components, right? So if you see here, we have, these are the three swim lanes, okay, for your SOA application. As of now, we have taken this file folder, which is there where? In the exposed services swim lane. Okay?
Right.
So this one is done. This is what we have actually created. Everyone is getting me, right?
That's fine.
Yes. Right. So we have created it. It's clear, right? Okay. No, next. Now, next what we will do, we'll take one more file. Let's complete this. Right. Click on next. Service name. You can write here file right there. Okay. That is file folder, right? This is file writer. All steps are same. Right. We'll take what? Write file. Yeah. You can go and write here C outgoing. Right. You have to create one more folder here. Right. So this is done. I'll just go and follow the steps. Let this be whatever it is, right? It can, you say, meaning of this is any other directory you can specify, right? And file naming convention, if you see here is, you can specify like here PO underscore this is there, right? You can write here outbound, right? Underscore percentile. Sequence is what is automatically come, right? You see, you are getting options, right? Date, time, when actually it was written and all. You can also go with sequence, like this will specify that in what sequence it was written and you can go and write your order. Okay? You can select append. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, like the order. Absolutely right. Apart from this, you can take date and time also, if we have to. Now you can append the data to the existing file also, which we will not do as of now, right? That is what you have to practice when you are. I'll just go and click on next, right? I'll check this box as we have done earlier so that there is no validation which is required. I'll click on next and I'll click on select. Okay. So now we have here file folder at one end and file writer at other end. Okay.
Right.
So next, you all know, I'll just go here.
Okay, we are waiting.
Yeah, you can do the wiring. Same is the case here. Your wiring is done. And this means the file caller will poll the directory that you have specified every minute, right? And once an XML file is detected, it will send it to the mediator, which will route the file to the file writer, right? What happens polling when we say, it means the file will be deleted in the polling directory and it will be written to the outgoing directory, right? So incoming directory will, is it clear? So are you getting objective or how actually composite applications are built? Am I clear? Okay. Don't forget to save it. Just save it here. And you can go to source also to see the XML. Right? Hard or difficult to remember, but once you work with this for a considerable amount of time, you can directly go and do this wiring from XML as well. Okay? Fine. So everything is ready. Last step, this will test your SOA installation also. Okay? I'll just go here, right click, select here deploy, file processor, and please select deploy to SOA. Okay? Right. And next is you have to just go and do next. Okay? You can see the option, so it will come later. And then go here next and click on finish. Right. And wait for the deployment to happen. Yeah. See, it is deployed. Okay. This is what this message is important. Root archive to module C the developer and all. This is what is important. Okay. So it's done now. Right.
So we are deploying to developer only, right?
Yeah, you can deploy it from there also. From
Application server.
yes, web logic server also. But as of since we are into development mode, we will go with it. Otherwise, you can go to your application server, and here you have SOA. Here you have SOA, and here you have this, right? You can just go and select admin server. You'll have to enter that you have to. Okay, that anyway I will say, and right, so as of now it's fine. Right, so it is deployed. You can open your WebLogic administrator or your server and where is the we have this one and we have this one. So we'll just go here to deployment. We'll see here. We have to open that and we have to see. Or we have to refresh it. Actually, yeah, tell me, sir. No, in this case, if you see, once file comes, it is directly sent, right? So it is synchronous. And it is one way. It's not two-way communication. Okay? And transform file is actually written in such a way that it will do polling, right? You can say it is asynchronous. It's asynchronous. Okay, we'll run it and we'll see whether it's working or not. Shall we go and run? Okay. And if you see here, it has created a test suite also. These are the classes. And here we have file processor. JEE is there, transform is there. So rest of the files are generated automatically. So I see the window. Okay. Right. Now I'll go here and create one XML. I think we'll just take a new XML from here. Just one XML file. Let's just see here. Because ideally when we deploy it, no, it's, yeah, it should. I'll go and do, because sometimes what happens, look, it actually is not built properly and your UI responds faster than the server. Hmm.